A, B, C. A always B, B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Always be closing. A, B, C. Some people want to tell you that high school recruiting don't matter no more. You got to be careful who you talk to. Man, I appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of the Somebody Said Kane Show. I was MIA last week. I was traveling for work, so I didn't get an opportunity to get a show out. This week was a little funky too, so I usually want to do these shows on Wednesday nights. Rocking this out on a Thursday night. Appreciate, as always, everybody that hits the like, everybody that hits the subscribe. Again, everybody's still been showing love, jumping on the page, hitting the like, hitting subscribe, hitting the comments, and I appreciate all of that. I want to talk Canes with other Canes fans, so if you hit me up, I'm going to hit you back. Let's talk some ball, man. Let's talk some Canes. I'm always going to show love because y'all show love to me. If you come on my page, that's showing love. You send a comment, you hit a like, you subscribe, that's showing love. So I'm going to show love back. Like, why wouldn't I, right? It's a Canes thing. Other people wouldn't understand, man. This is what we do. We show love around here. So please tell a friend to tell a friend. Every Monday night, though, I do another show. It's called Somebody Said Sports Show here on YouTube as well. We go live every Monday night, 9 p.m., talking everything football. So if you want to hear about other football teams and the NFL and stuff like that, go follow us over there. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on that as well. Man, so like I said, I missed last week. There's been some things going on in the Miami stratosphere. For those who are the casuals, they'll say, bro, ain't no games going on. What you mean there's Miami stuff happening? Dog, listen. What did the video say at the top? Always be closing. When your head coach is Mario Cristobal, there's no offseason. Mario is always closing. Mario is always recruiting. We are fresh out of a dead period. Mario is doing what he do. He is on that trail. He is recruiting. I'm going to talk about recruiting. One, why it still matters. Two, what this class might look like for Miami and who are my top 5 most wanted recruits in the country. I'm going to show my top 5 recruits that I would like to see us close on in this cycle. And I'm going to tell you why as I show them. So hang out with me on that. Also, we have some coaching hires happen. So I want to get into that too, talk about what I think about some of these coaches, some things that I'm excited about that they could bring to the table, and then even some things that I might be concerned about because no coach is perfect, right? So there's going to be some coaches that are going to be hits. They're going to be, good for the program. They're going to bring some good things to it, but there could be some concerns too. And I got a couple of concerns, but hopefully I'm wrong and hopefully everything turns out great. Man, without further ado, let's just go ahead and let's get into it, man. Who are my most wanted recruits in this cycle? This cycle, this class recruiting, before I get into that, this class could potentially be special. We have an opportunity, or the Hurricanes, Miami, Mario's got an opportunity to put together what could be a very special recruiting class for a couple of reasons. One, like I talked about some weeks ago, we got wins to sell now. What was one of the things you always heard, especially South Florida recruits say? I want to see Miami win first. I want to see Miami do something on the field. We did something. All that talking on the net, Miami got in the field and did something. Word to Keontae Scott. You got wins to go sell now. We know Mario's been a dog recruiter his entire career. He's come a long way as a head coach. He's been a dog recruiter from the jump. And now he's got wins to sell. That's the one thing he didn't have. We got the money, the NIL, we got the location, you've got the history and the pageantry of Miami Hurricanes football. You got the alumni, Hall of Famers walking up and down the sideline. The one thing we didn't have was wins, and we just went and played for a natty. So for that reason alone, this class can be special because we've had good classes without the wins. And so now that you have that, you got a chance to go do something even special, even more special. There's some really high level athletes in South Florida this year. There's been a couple of downish years in South Florida recruiting, if we keeping it a buck. This last cycle, South Florida recruiting, it wasn't crazy like that. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like even IMG's last class or so wasn't crazy. We've seen some crazy classes out of IMG, out of South Florida, and we really didn't see that this last cycle. It's some boys in this class right here who are day one starters in college. There's a couple of boys coming out of South Florida this cycle that are going to be day one starters when they get to college. There's a couple that might reclass. They might graduate early. They're juniors this year and they might come out and they might be day one starters when they get to college. I'm not going to talk about the reclass kids until that happens, but I am going to talk about the kids that are for sure going to be in this cycle. One thing to remember when I talk about recruiting, because people may wonder, like, why do I still get so hype about high school recruiting? My personal philosophy is high school recruiting determines your floor, the portal determines your ceiling. Right? High school recruiting will say, what is the baseline for your team? Right? If you didn't get any portal kids, what would be the baseline? Can you still go out there and have a functioning program? What does your development look like from the high school ranks? Portals cream on top. Right? Last year, offensive line still would have been nasty without Carson Beck. Carson Beck elevated the offense as a portal attainer. The running back room was still going to be nasty. Offensive line, we were still going to be like that. So the portal elevates and creates your ceiling. High school recruiting creates your floor. So that's why I still talk about recruiting. That's why I still get hype about recruiting. Okay, who are my top 5 most wanted recruits in this cycle? It starts with this young man. That young man named Mark Matthews. He is an offensive tackle over there at St. Thomas Aquinas. You see the profile, 6'5", 330 or 300 out of high school. I'm always going to be about the trenches, dog. Football is one up front. People want to make football about a lot of things. It has always been a game one up front. You got to have the trenches right. We saw that last year. We dominated Ohio State. We dominated Ole Miss and people like that up front, running the football. This kid is a day one starter. We just brought in an offensive tackle in this last class who was Mr. Football, Gatorade Mr. Football in the nation. Jackson Cantwell. He's probably going to be a day one starter. Mark Matthews might be better than him today. Mark Matthews is about to be a senior in high school. He might be better than Jackson Cantwell today. This kid is a monster. This kid is a monster, dog. I don't do a whole lot of the must get recruit stuff, the can't miss stuff. He's one of them, though. Mark Matthews is a must get, can't miss type of recruit. Coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas, it is in our backyard, right down the street, so to speak. We've got Jason Taylor on staff, who used to be on that coaching staff over there at STA. Mark Matthews is probably arguably going to be the best prospect to come out of that program, which is a monster program. They feed kids in the D1. Mark Matthews is incredible. Should not be this polished, should not be as athletic as he is. He moves amazingly well. Good length and arms and all that good stuff. Technique is way ahead of his age. This kid is a dog, and we gotta have him, man. You can't let the Mark Matthews type of kids get away. We'll never have the state of Miami stuff again. I remember those days, and we've all watched the documentaries, and it used to be state of Miami, and all these kids stay home. That doesn't exist anymore, and that's not possible. But there are certain kids where you got to say, look, I don't care what it takes. Mario, being the offensive line-minded head coach that he is, the way that we are putting offensive linemen into the NFL now, we're about to have a top 10 pick in Francis Mawinoa. You've got to get a kid like Mark Matthews to stay home. You just absolutely have to, man. This kid is just absolutely incredible, dog. Put the tape on. I don't even care if you get in the O-line tape like that. Put the tape on, and you can just tell there's something special about this kid, man. We got to keep this kid home. As you can see in the profile, 5-star on the composite, number 3 player in the country, number 1 tackle, number 1 player in the state of Florida. All that is legit. There is no overhype. He's that good. He is my number one overall most wanted recruit. Number two, for me personally, I'm going to stay in the trenches. I want DJ Jacobs. Yes, I clipped this image specifically to account for the fact that he is committed to Ohio State. I'm fully aware of that. So was Justin Scott. So was Mark Fletcher. We flipped kids from Ohio State before. And what better team to stick it to and still the arguably number one player in the country from than the Suckeyes? I would love nothing more than to stick it to them by getting the number one player in the country, a kid who is the prototype defensive end coming out of high school. 6'5", 235, runs like he's 5'10", 210. This kid is special. There's a reason he's rated as high as he is. You see him on the circuit. You see him work out. You see how fluid he is at that size. Just like I just said about Mark Matthews, we're putting guys in the league. We're about to have potentially 2 DNs go in the first round of the NFL draft. We just beat Ohio State. I know Mario's selling that. Man, to have the number one player in the country is incredible in itself. I don't remember the last time Miami was able to do that. So that would be huge in itself. But to do it by flipping him from Ohio State would be crazy. And here's the other piece of it too. When he committed to Ohio State that day, a lot of people expected him to commit to Miami. I'm no insider. I don't have no juice, no sauce. I'm not plugged in or nothing like that. I see and hear the same stuff y'all hear and see. A lot of people expected this kid to commit to Miami. I know y'all saw it. I saw it, so I know y'all saw it. Don't be surprised if Mario pulls another one. Don't be surprised if Mario sticking to Ohio State again. He is not going to take that loss sitting down. I can bet your bottom dollar on that. Mario's not going to take that loss sitting down, losing DJ Jacobs to Ohio State, really at what was considered the 9th hour by a lot of people who cover that kind of stuff. My number 3 most wanted recruit in this class, that boy they call No Cut Nick Lanier. Hey, man, listen. Just put on the tape. Just put the tape on. Soon as you cut on Nick's tape, it all makes sense. Look at the rating, 5-star composite, number 12 player in the country, number 3 wide receiver, number 2 in the state of Florida, next to Mark Matthews, who was my number 1 most wanted recruit in this cycle. No Cut Nick is going to be one of the next great South Florida receivers to hit college football. I have no hesitation. I have no doubt. I have no qualms about what I just said. No Cut Nick is about to be the next great South Florida wide receiver to hit college football. I don't believe that certain people are born to do specific things in life. If I did, I would say that Nick is born to be a football player. Like some people just have that something that you can't teach, you can't train it. There's no workout to get it. He's only 5'11 and a half, 165. You see what he's listed at. So he's not some Megatron, 6'5, 200 plus Julio Jones, runs a 4.4. He's not that, but my God, is this boy special on a football field. Again, going back to that, we can never have the state of Miami thing again. But dog, there are some kids we got to find a way to keep, man. And Nick is one of them. Last year, he was at Miami Northwestern. This year, he's going to be at Carroll City. Just to have an idea of how good Nick is, if you're not familiar, which if you're not, like you just must don't follow recruiting at all. But let's pretend that you don't follow recruiting, so you don't know much about Nick. Nick was the best player on his team last season, and there was another 5-star on the team. Potentially 2, because Neiman Lawrence might also be a 5-star. I have to go check. Neiman Lawrence is a quarterback in the 2028 class. There was another 5-star recruit on that team last season, Miami Northwestern, who was also a wide receiver. Nick is better than him. Year behind him, smaller than him, better than him. No Cut Nick is a monster. That kid is an absolute dog. The idea of having him on the same field with Malachi Tony is what dreams is made of. This is what wide receiver coaches dream of, having a Malachi Tony next to a no-cut Nick. Because if Nick does come to Miami, Mally will be in his junior season. The two of them can play together. There will be no drop-off in terms of having a special young talent in that wide receiver room. No-cut Nick is, if you believe in that kind of thing, if you believe in the must-haves, can't misses, Nick is one of them. My number 4, top 5 most wanted recruit in this class. This one's kind of a reach, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm gonna try and say his name. First name is Honor. You can do what you want to with the rest of that name. Listed as a running back. Personally, I like him most at safety. Listed at 6'1", 190. Again, just an absolute football player. Plays both ways. Elite on both sides of the ball. If you wanted to keep him at running back, he'd still be an elite recruit at running back. He's an elite recruit at safety. He's one of those kids, honestly, just get him on campus and figure it out. Like, real talk. Like, some coaches sell that on kids. Like, oh, you get on campus and like, oh, bro, we might play you over here and we can throw you over there. And they cap it. Right? They line just to get these kids to sign up. Honor is one of them kids where that's absolutely true. He could probably be a dog at running back. He could probably play wide receiver if he really wanted to. He could probably play corner. He absolutely can play safety, play nickel. This kid is just a football player. He's a dog, man. It's going to be a tough pull. This one's a little bit of a reach. He is way out there in California. Yes, we just got Van Spafford from way out there in California. We've gotten some West Coast kids before. It's just a little bit tougher. You know, it's hard for these young boys to be that far away from home, especially when there's some closer places you can play. But we are in his top 10, right? He did drop a top 10 and Miami is in it. So it is a legitimate, it's a reach, yes, but it's not far-fetched. Like, it's not a ridiculous reach where I'm just throwing out some nonsense. We are legitimately in the contention for honor. And, you know, if you can also keep that Polynesian pipeline, I think that's dope too, because there's always some really, really good Polynesian kids that you're trying to recruit. And it always helps to have a couple of them on campus already. So Honor is my number 4 most wanted recruit in this cycle because he's just a football player. He's just special. You can play him at a number of different positions. Personally, I really, really love to see him stick at safety. If he's got an adult in his ear who is guiding him and they know football for real, they will tell that boy to stay at safety because he could be something special at safety. He has got true NFL talent at safety. This kid is special, dog. I want to see him on defense. My number 5 most wanted recruit in this 2027 cycle, Israel Abrams. Considered the number 44 overall player according to 247 Sports. Number 3 quarterback in the country. He's out of Illinois. Don't trip on the Illinois piece. Don't panic. He doesn't have Ohio State in his top 5. He doesn't have Michigan in his top 5. Miami's in his top 5. Miami, Kentucky, Florida State. Believe it is Purdue is in there too, and Auburn. So he is not dead set or committed to staying in the Midwest or up north. Miami's in his top 5. I put him in here because though I'm very much on the train of the whole portal quarterback thing, I don't want a bunch of experiments at quarterback. I'm cool on never playing another recruited quarterback. That might be a hot take. Really don't care. Go get me a proven talent at quarterback. We've hit 3 times now. Darian Mensah hasn't even taken a snap. He's a hit. Like, I don't have to wait to see him play to know that. So I'm cool not playing high school quarterbacks, but you do still need to recruit them. They do still help in terms of recruiting other like wide receivers and other positions like that. So if you can get a kid like this who is highly rated, well-respected, very, very talented, love the measurables at 6'4", 187, rangy kid, obviously will add weight, will add power. You can tell he just knows football. He's being coached well. When you watch the way he plays the game, he's probably got a really good private quarterback coach. All these kids do these days. You can see he's very polished, man. I like what Israel brings to the table. He is strongly considering Miami. Would be nice to get a kid like that, especially getting him early, sooner than later would be dope. And that way you can go sell him to wide receivers, running backs, and offensive linemen. That is my top 5 most wanted recruits in this class. If you didn't get a chance to catch it, it's Mark Matthews, the best tackle in this cycle out of St. Thomas Aquinas. He's an absolute must get, gotta have type of kid. I want DJ Jacobs, the #1 overall player in the country, according to some, defensive end. I want no cut Nick Lanier out of now Carroll City. He played for Northwestern last year. I want Honor Falavea Johnson. I think that's how you say his name. I said I wasn't going to try it, and I tried it anyway. And then I want Israel Abrams. Those are my top 5 most wanted recruits in this cycle. All right, cool. Got that done. Let's talk about some of these coaching hires. So at the end of the season, we saw some coaches go take other opportunities, and mostly they went to the NFL, and good for them. You know, if you get an opportunity to go coach in the NFL, dog, it's kind of hard to turn that down in this day and age because it's just so much easier. Like there's just so much less work that you have to do, especially when you coach for Mario, where Mario is very demanding of his coaches. You got to be grinding on that trail. A lot of coaches are, you know, they're not really up for that. That's not really, you know, they thing. They don't love the recruiting. They don't love the fact that there's no off season. So, you know, a lot of guys get that opportunity to go to the league, and they will. So we saw some guys go to the league. We also relieved some guys of duties, and Mario kind of encouraged them to go chase other opportunities. And so they did that, right? And good for them. But we did bring in some coaches. Mario, in his slow process, has brought some guys in. Let's talk about it. At running backs coach, we brought in a guy named Fabian Upshaw. Not the hype name people thought. Is not Jawan Cedar, which that's the name that always comes up. Every time we got a running back coach opening, the first name people start talking about is Jawan Cedar. No, Mario didn't hire Jawan Cedar. So who is Fabian Upshaw? Well, we got him from the Denver Broncos. He was a quality control analyst over there. His playing profile, he played quarterback at Georgia Southern, which he ran the ball almost as much as he threw the ball, right? So you think about him being a running backs coach, and he was like, he played quarterback. Well, it just means that, one, he understands the game at a high level from a quarterback perspective on offense, which is what you need, but also he ran a system where he ran the ball a lot. So he understands blocking schemes. He understands how to read holes and zones and stuff like that. So I think he'll be fine at that. He also coached at Tulane. He coached at Savannah State, which has been one of the better HBCU programs. They're often playing in the Cricket Bowl. If you really get in the weeds on that, like I do, you know, I'm a big HBCU guy too when it comes to sports. So Savannah State's a good program. They have a really good coaching staff up there. And then he also coached at Georgia Southern, where he played. This hire was commented as being sneaky big from a culture fit. He's also considered to be one of the fast risers on the coaching circuit. So some things that I like about the idea of bringing in Fabian. Well, one, the culture fit is a big piece, right? Because in college football, your coaching staff has to drive the culture, and that will bleed into the rest of the players. And where you see coaches are distracted and they got other stuff going on, you see that come out in the players. It's hard to keep a young locker room where you're talking about 17 to 24-year-olds sometimes at the most held together and focused and doing the right things. You need culture fits. Fabian, according to what people are saying, seems to be a really, really good culture fit on that. He's also 32 years old, so he brings a lot of youth, right? He's got a lot of growing still to do, but he's already well regarded. He got his way up to the NFL level, right? He was a college coach, and at 32, he was already able to secure himself a coaching job at the NFL level. Again, some of the highest, hardest positions to acquire, and at 32 years old, he was already able to do that. So getting an opportunity to see how an NFL program is run or an NFL organization is run, work with NFL adults in that running back room, he probably brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to what is a very, very talented running back room that we know we've got here in Miami. He's young too, so having the energy to go hit that trail, to go do that recruiting. Mario is not going to let anybody on his staff slack off when it comes to that recruiting. If they do, he's going to get rid of them. Fabian should have no problem doing that. Again, from a culture perspective, being from the South, playing in the South, having ties to the state of Georgia, coaching at Tulane, so having ties to Louisiana, Savannah State, South Carolina. So he's got deep ties in the South, should help out in recruiting. He should have the youth and their energy. Some potential concerns, if I'm having to try to think of one, it's that coming from the NFL to college. I said he should have the energy to do it. He's only 32 years old. He's a young cat in the coaching game, but it's just different. Yes, he's coached in college before, but do you go to the NFL and you get a taste of that off season where the season ends and you get to go take your family to Cabo, or you get to go to Curacao and hang out for a couple of months with your lady? You don't really get that in college. So he may be thinking like, oh yeah, I'm down to go back to college. And then you get into that off season, dog, where normally you'd be on a beach in some sandals. And now you got Mario hitting you up like, hey, where we at on that running back recruit? It's just different. So if you kind of get out of it, sometimes it's almost like going back to school, right? When you graduate or you finish your undergrad in college, people say just stay in and go ahead and get your master's because it's hard to get back into that school mentality. Is there an issue with him getting back in that school mentality, man? That would be, one of the potential concerns if I'm reaching, right? I'm not overly concerned. We know Mario does his due diligence. But if I'm thinking about something that could be an issue, that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking at. So that's our running backs coach. I think he's going to be just fine, man. Again, everybody seems to like him. People speak well of him. Young, fast riser in the coaching ranks. I think he's going to be just fine. The other coaching hire that we made, Mario went and got a gentleman by the name of Mike Vitti to be our tight ends coach. Mike Vitti, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know who he was. Not gonna hold you. Had to do my research and figure out who this cat was. But once you hear about him, I'm pretty hyped about what he could be. And the hire also makes a lot of sense once I kind of tell you the history. So he spent 10 seasons at Army. So on the Army coaching staff, he was an offensive line coach. Also, most recently, an assistant head coach over there at Army. His offensive line won the Joe Moore Award. Well, which makes a lot of sense because at Army, which like at a lot of the service schools, they run the ball a lot. So off top, you hear offensive line coach, you hear Joe Moore Award, you think about Mario, it just makes sense. It's a natural fit. He also played at Army. He was a fullback at Army, and then he actually did serve in the Army. He was an Army captain, earning a Bronze Star. I want to say he led a platoon on a mission somewhere out in the Middle East. Some of the things that I'm excited about Mike potentially bringing to the staff, first of all, that discipline. We're talking about an Army guy, right? And Mario's big on discipline, but Mario is also big on the motivation and getting guys dialed and locked in. That is something that you think about the service academies and you think about those kinds of things, right? The things that they're taught, those principles, those values, the hard work, the doing the dirty work, the little things that may not be noticed. Those are the things that kind of get drilled into them. I am the child of 2 Army parents. Both my parents are in the Army, so I know what it's like being around Army people. Yeah, dog, it's about that discipline. It's about doing the little things, doing what's right, even when you don't get the credit for it or you don't get the shine for it. So when you think about a guy serving 10 seasons as a coach at Army, you got to think about the discipline he's going to bring, but also the energy, right? Like you see those teams, when you watch those teams, man, those coaching styles bring a lot of energy. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say about Mike in terms of things like that, just his ability to motivate, to really get the most out of guys. And especially when you run that system like you do at Army, you got to get buy-in, man, because it's not always a fun system to be in unless you're in a certain couple of positions on that offense. Sometimes it can be hard to get hype about it. He's going to come to Miami and coach tight ends, which people might think is a little funky, but I think it's very natural. My first thought goes to that national championship game where we saw a tight end not do the little things, not block the way he was supposed to, and then you bring in a offensive line coach to coach tight ends. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Our running game coordinator is our offensive line coach, Alex Mirabal. So the tight end coach being offensive line minded makes sense. Obviously, our offensive line coach is a stalwart on the staff. There's a natural fit. Our head coach is a former offensive lineman and offensive line coach. There's a natural fit there, and them understanding and probably thinking about football in similar ways, and that it's got to be one up front. And I'm all for that. Sign me up for that. I want to say that there's a potential concern for, I probably shouldn't make this joke, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's coming from Army and he's got to recruit. Probably recruiting a lot of black kids. Army's used to doing that. It should be a natural thing for a guy coming from the Army. Nobody recruits high school kids better than Army. So that shouldn't be much of an issue with Mike. He should be used to talking to high school kids and trying to convince high school kids to do something. Because the Army, they definitely recruit the high school ranks and not just for football. So being out of Miami, you got to imagine that, he's not going to be foreign to the recruiting. It's going to be a different type of recruiting, right? If I'm being, legitimate, like all jokes aside, recruiting at Miami ain't like recruiting at Army, right? We're talking about a very different caliber of kids whose minds are in a different place. You're recruiting kids who are thinking NFL only. They're not thinking about the services. And unfortunately, not enough of them are thinking about the long term and what comes after football, which is different when you recruit at Army. We're talking about, kids who have, since they were 5 years old, told that they're going to go play in the NFL. And that's been their only dream in life. So it's going to be a very different experience. But again, coming from Army, you expect him to have the right energy, the right motivations, to really be able, though, to get the tight end room dialed in. We have not gotten a lot. We have not gotten what we should have gotten out of that tight end room, especially this last season. I'll put it that way. I would love to see Mike Vitti come in, look at some of the body types we have in that room, some of the physical ability we got in our tight end room, and be able to get the most out of those kids, get them to play hard-nosed, disciplined, precise football, doing their job, understanding the little things that Alex Ballman struggled with. I'm going to just say it, man. Or things that at times, maybe even Elijah Lofton struggled with. When you go back and watch the tape, our tight ends weren't amazing at blocking this season. There was some things to be desired when it came to that out of the tight end room. So you bring in an offensive line coach who is coming from Army. You expect him to be able to get a lot out of that room because there is a lot of talent in it. So those are the new hires that are taking place. There is still one more hire, the coaching staff. So it'll be interesting to see how that lands. Spring ball starts up in a few weeks. So you imagine that'll probably get announced pretty soon. I have heard through the grapevine, there's some folks we've already interviewed for that role. Not my place to say it. We'll see it when it comes out. But you trust Mario to go out and make a good hire. Man, that's all the football stuff I want to get through. Again, talking about recruiting, you see the tag for the night. Recruiting season is AKA Mario season, right? This is where Mario does what he does. He's been a monster recruiter really his entire coaching career, and this is where he gets busy. So as a Miami fan, you should be excited. Yes, we've got a long way before games get played. Spring ball starts in a few weeks, but this is recruiting season. Recruiting in the summer and the spring is more important than it's ever been because a lot of kids commit earlier with the early signing day. And then the wave now is kids just commit before their senior season. So the spring and the summer is where you see a lot of recruiting activity taking place. And by all accounts, it's going to be busy starting today. Go look at the 247 Sports page. Gabby Urruti over there is giving all those updates, man, on all type of kids on campus already today. Going to continue basically every weekend for quite a while. Recruiting is going to be very busy. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is where Mario really makes his bones, man. Mario is one of those Jimmys and Joes over X's and O's type guys, and I'm with that. Some things you just can't teach. So all for that. Recruiting season, a.k.a. Mario season, is firing up. We made a couple of coaching hires. Excited about those guys. We brought in Fabian Upshaw at running backs coach, We brought in Mike Vitti at tight ends coach, and there's a lot of things to be excited about with those dudes. Basketball, real quick, because I do talk, a little bit of some of the other Miami sports, man. The basketball team locked up the 3rd seed in a double bye in the ACC tournament. Jay Lucas has a very strong argument for being the coach of the year. Jay Lucas is going to be a problem at Miami, and I hope Miami can keep him, give him whatever he wants, give him a blank check, because Jay Lucas is not only a monster on the recruiting trail, he's showing he's got the chops to be a really, really good coach as well, getting a lot out of a team that isn't uber talented. This is probably the least talented team he might have at Miami. He's got those boys winning a lot of ball games. He's tied the record for most wins in a season. I think he might actually broke it the other night. He might have broke the record last night of most wins in a single basketball season at the University of Miami. Big shout out to Jay Lucas. Those boys are the 3rd seed in the ACC tournament. They've basically locked themselves up to make the big dance in March Madness. So Miami's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, and they might be playing in Tampa. There is a region that's going to be playing in Tampa this year. So for those of us here in Florida, you might be able to, go to Tampa. I live real close to Tampa, to go see the Hurricanes actually play in the NCAA tournament, which that would be super, super dope. Baseball, they lost to Florida. I don't even want to talk about it, man. As always, I appreciate everybody that tunes in. I try to keep these shows short, 30 minutes-ish, went a little over tonight, have some things to catch up on. If you watch, man, I appreciate you doing it. All I ask is you please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. It just helps me out. It makes it easier for me to go and do more dope things. We got some cool ideas coming up. Hoping to bring on a couple of guests in the next few weeks to come talk some specific things. Some guys who might be plugged in. I'm not, but I know some folks who might be. We're going to come in and we're going to talk some different things. We're going to continue to talk recruiting, and we're going to ramp up for spring ball. Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Y'all always know what it is. If it ain't nothing else, it's go Canes. And I'm going to catch y'all next time.